Hello everyone, this is Taryn with Wonderfully Made Handcrafting, and today I'm working through day 2 of By the Wall for Gods, Equipped by Jesus. And in day 2, we're talking about the belt of truth, and Tom walks us through this belt, talking about how it could be like a duty belt of a police officer. It's not just to hold up your pants, but it's to hold everything in place and to have everything at the ready. He also talks about how it could be like a belt of the priests, like we see in Exodus 28:4. But he also writes about how, in addition to the high priest attire, he says Paul would have also reflected on the messianic passage of Isaiah 11, where Isaiah wrote that a shoot would come forth from the stump of Jesse, a reference to the coming of Jesus in describing the coming Messiah. And Isaiah wrote in Isaiah 11:5, "Righteousness shall be the belt of his waist, and faithfulness the belt of his loins." So like I've said before, I'm working through my Pocket Bible this month, and the Pocket Bible only has the New Testament and Psalms and Proverbs. Obviously, the main verses for the month in Ephesians are in my Pocket Bible, but since I have that one used already for yesterday's day, I want to make sure to kind of branch out and use a different verse in my Bible to slip my pocket card in. And so I decided to use John 17:17, which is a part of the high priestly prayer. And it says, "Sanctify them in the truth. Your word is truth." And for those of you wondering, I already checked, and the only other day where I'm going to have to find my own verse is on day 4, so no big deal. So what I've done with this background is I took a disposable baking dish from the store and it just cut it up in a small enough piece to cover up that pocket card that I'm working on. And I used a 3D embossing folder. I put that foil in once I smoothed it out with a bone folder, put it in that 3D embossing folder and sent it through my Big Shot machine. And that way I have this awesome like embossed look on the foil. It works wonderful. I mean, I just love the look of it. I did do it back in December as well with the kit then. But yes, I have so many ideas for using these baking dishes. I told my husband to pick up a few because I just love the look of it when you add alcohol ink to it as well. Now, I do have to say, this time around, I was adding a lot more alcohol ink than I did in December. And I think I like the December look better, just a little bit of an aged metal. This time I was adding some different colors like that burgundy-ish red and just trying to add colors that would go along with this kit. And although I very much so like it, I think I like the look of that just aged metal better. And that way I just had one alcohol ink color basically I was using, which was that mushroom color. If you can only pick up one color of alcohol ink, definitely pick up the mushroom. It's kind of like the frayed burlap, I think, of alcohol inks. So anyways, I got all these inks in here and I'm just moving them around, making sure that it is all covered. And then I wanted to kind of tone down this red a little bit and add some more mushroom around. So I'm adding that brown that also has that bluish tint and making sure that everything is not completely puddled up in the different spaces. Now, with so much alcohol ink being used, I do have to wait for it to dry a little bit. So while I'm sitting here waiting for it to air dry, I am just adding a little bit of brown to the outer edges of this ephemera piece. But once I kind of wait a little bit and it's still not dry and still has a couple little puddles, I do move over to my heat gun tool and just kind of dry it off a little bit faster that way. So like I said, when I did this technique back in December, I used a lot less alcohol ink and used mostly just that mushroom neutral color. So now I want to kind of tone this down a little bit. I like the colors, but I want to kind of give that metal look back. So I take some alcohol and I'm just going to dab a little bit on a napkin and I'll just rub it over the high points. I want to make sure it's not too wet, so it's just barely damp, and that will give me a relief of all those kind of embossed areas. It looks awesome this way. So now it's time for me to attach this background to my pocket card. And since I am attaching metal and it is also embossed, so there's a lot of high points that might not hit, I'm using a good amount of glue. I'm using my Barely Arts glue, and I'm making sure to put a good chunk down so that wherever that metal hits the paper, it is going to hold, and it's going to hold it strongly. Now, when I place this background, I'm going to make sure that it's nice and lined up. This glue does dry fairly fast, but I am going to just hold it there for a second before I grab my Tim Holtz 9.5-inch scissors to use to cut around the edge. Now, these scissors are awesome. They can basically cut everything, and they're self-sharpening, so that is one of the reasons why I love them. Now, I know many of you may be worried about getting cut by this metal, and all I can say is the 3 projects that I've created using this technique, I have not had any issues, but I do not rub my fingers up and down on the edges of it either. I'm wanting to create a title of some sort for this card, and originally I was going to use that word flashcard, but then I couldn't find a way to fit it in without it taking over the background. And so instead I grabbed my Dymo label maker and create a Belt of Truth title. But once I put this girl down and realized how much space that whole Belt of Truth is going to take up on this card and how it kind of takes away from the background, I just simply narrow it down to the word truth. And I'm just going to put that over exactly where her belt would be if she had a belt. She kind of has a little belt. But anyways, that is where I decide to put my little label, and that will be my title for this card. After I've placed that label, this card is done. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me over on Instagram at Wonderfully Made Handcrafting. I'll try to link everything I use down below that's available, and I hope you have a wonderful day, guys. Bye.